Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. So glad to have you along with us on a very big weekend in the outdoors here in the great state of Michigan, the opening weekend of the firearm deer season. Now, I mentioned this is a radio show. Well, you might say, well, of course it's a radio show. I mean, what else would it be? But we do have a podcast version of the show. I do think the best way to listen to Outdoor Magazine Radio, if you can, is on your local AM or FM station, because there you get your local news and weather and sports and all that good stuff. But if you can't, if your local affiliate doesn't carry all 3 hours of the 3-hour show, or if you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal, you can hear Outdoor Magazine as a podcast. Now, what is a podcast? That's going to vary from program to program. Some programs never hit the airwaves, never hit the broadcast airwaves, and they are designed strictly as podcasts. Outdoor Magazine is designed as a radio show. It is recorded, distributed, and produced primarily as a radio show. But if you can't listen to it that way, a podcast is indeed a great backup. Where do you hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show, you ask? And I say, well, thank you for asking. The website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, one good place to look. MikeAveryOutdoors.com, a clearinghouse for all things Mike Avery Outdoors and Outdoor Magazine. You can also hear it on the Facebook page, on the Mike Avery Outdoors Facebook page. We're also on Amazon Music now. Check it out there. It goes out on my Twitter feed. I'm at Avery Outdoors. You can hear it on LinkedIn. You can hear it on iTunes, on Google Play, on iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, StitcherRadio.com, and several other places I'm not even aware of. But wherever you get your podcasts from, you can hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show. Also want to make you aware, I also produce monthly podcasts for Jay's Sporting Goods, Offshore Tackle, Angler Quest Boats, Killer Food Plots, and Polar Craft Boats as well. In fact, when we're done with the radio show today, we're going to record a Jay's podcast. The topic this time around is getting kids involved in the outdoors. And there is there are few finer, more honorable goals than that, in my opinion. So check those out as well. The website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. You can always get in touch with me by sending me an email to Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. And, of course, check out all the different social media outlets I'm involved in, including Wednesday Night Live, where every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, I do about a 45-minute live show on the Facebook page, on my YouTube channel, and on Twitter as well. And from now through the first of the year, we will be giving away a Michigan brand ham as part of our Ham for the Holidays promotion. So please join us for those if you can. Well, this is the opening weekend of the firearm deer season, but deer hunting isn't the only thing going on in our great state right now. There's some fantastic fishing. I'm thinking right now about Lake St. Clair walleye action, steelhead rivers in the stream, Saginaw Bay perch and perch is on fire right now. The walleye fishing getting set to take off. But what about this? What about whitefish? Whitefish, not something we hear as much about. Ed Beckley of the M65 Bait Shop with us now to talk more about that and much more. Ed, welcome to the show. How have you been? And, Ed, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, wonderful. Hey, listen, Ed, and also, by the time people hear this show, this will be old news, but we are recording this on Veterans Day, and I want to thank you for your service. You have a very impressive military career, and I thank you for everything you've done for our country.
Well, thank you, Mike. I mean, there's a lot of us out there that have done a lot of things, and it makes it nice to hear, people say thank you.
A far cry from what your brothers who came home from Vietnam had to deal with in a lot of ways, isn't it?
Yes, it's a very, very different, scene out there today compared to back then. I mean, my dad tells me stories when he come home from Vietnam of being spit on. And
I just hate to hear that. So,
yeah.
So I thank you, my friend, for your service. Hey, listen, M65 Bait Shop. You got 2 shops out there now, don't you?
Yes, we do. We this time of year we just keep the one in the Whittemore area open. In the summer and spring and ice fishing, I should say too. I keep the one in Au Gres opened up. It's a little slower in Au Gres this time of year, and it just makes more sense just to run the one show.
Yeah, and we catch you right now up in Deer Camp. I think you're up in the UP, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm about 40 miles southwest of Escanaba right now, sitting on a little knoll watching my signal go back and forth.
Well, you sound good so far, and I appreciate it. How did your, let's check in with you. How did your bear season go? Did you run bear hunters this fall?
No, I did not. My group up here that I always hunted with and helped guide with and things like that, they did really well. In fact, as they were on Michigan Outdoors and that stuff and that 906 show up here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I do a lot of stuff up here when I'm up here with John Ron from that 906 Outdoors.
Yeah, I know that name very well. I have yet to meet John, but I hear nothing but good things about him.
Yep. He's right there in that same area where you bear hunted this year with Johnny Baller.
Is he? Okay.
Yep.
And are you still hunting with your Predator recurve?
Yes, sir. Fact is, I've got it up here with me now. I might even use it opening day rifle season.
No kidding. Wow. You're pretty hardcore, my friend.
No, I wouldn't say I'm hardcore. I just like shooting it. I mean, it's a local company, and the bow is just awesome.
I have yet to take a deer with it, but I am just absolutely in love with it. It is so basic and pure and clean and simple. I've really fallen in love with it, Ed, and I think as long as I physically can draw that recurve, I think I'm going to stick with it.
Oh, I'm sticking with mine. I mean, I never pulled my crossbow out this year one time. I sat in the woods with a recurve every time I went and sat. I was able to take a buck with it a couple years ago, but I haven't taken anything in the last year. So it was 2 years ago. So, yeah, in the last year, I haven't, last 2 seasons.
Well, I certainly have nothing against crossbows. I love them. I think they're a good way to make a quick, clean, humane killing shot. But there's something about that recurve with having to get up close and personal. I'm really enjoying, and it has helped bring back I can't say my passion, but it's helped bring back my interest in deer hunting. And I was really trying to get that done. So it's for me. They're not for everybody, but for me and obviously for you too, they are certainly a good option. But you say even taking it into the woods in the opening day of firearm deer season, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got a spot set up back here where I can shoot 15 to 17 yards, and I'm really good at that range. And I don't know, I just like shooting the bow. I mean, I can sit in the yard and shoot, and it's not, I love my crossbow. Don't get me wrong. I do. And
Darton's a great Michigan-based family-owned company. Much respect for them.
Yeah, but to go out and really practice with it, I get more tired trying to cock that thing than I do shooting my recurve.
What are you seeing at the shop as far as deer season this fall, or what are you seeing for fall in general? And I'll preface that, or I'll maybe set up this question, maybe it's unfairly, but everybody I talk to in the industry, in the business, Ed says there's a renewed interest in the outdoors this fall like we haven't seen in years.
Oh, we're really, really busy right now at the shop. It's been crazy. I mean, you can't even keep bows in. I get bows in, they're gone. Your crossbows, your compound bows, everything. It goes. I mean, I was down there last weekend before last, I think. Yeah, the weekend before last, I was down there at the shop. My son was out hunting in Missouri, and then he went to Ohio, and I sold 3-4 crossbows that weekend. And it's just a steady stream of people coming through.
Well, is it COVID related, do you think, or is there something else going on?
I think a lot of it could be COVID related because, I mean, I feel right now up at deer camp, I'm the safest place I can be.
Oh, sure. And you don't have to wear a mask either.
No. No, but I'll tell you, they're more strict up here on the mask wearing than they are down home.
Really?
Yeah, over here, I was up in Stevenson yesterday, and they were right on the mask.
Well, I think it's something we all got to get. I think it's not going away anytime soon, it doesn't appear, so we might as well get used to it, huh?
Yeah, we might as well get used to it, Mike. I mean, I don't like wearing one, but, you know, do what we got to do.
Do what you got to do. Ed Beckley of M65 Bait Shop, M65baitshop.com. Eddie, we got to take a break. When we come back, let's get to the topic that I originally wanted to talk to you about, and that's whitefishing. Your signal sounds like it's good. Hopefully your battery on your cell is holding up well, and you can stick around for a little bit longer.
Oh, no problem. I'm here.
All right, Ed Beckley of the M65 Bait Shop. A friend of mine, and I got to be honest, a war hero as well. If you ever meet Ed, and you ever get a chance to talk with him about his service for our country and the things that he did, he is a legitimate, decorated war hero and an all-around good guy as well. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, wrap up our conversation with Ed. Also coming up, the status of TB in our whitetail herd and this week's Ask Avery segment. All coming up in hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine. By now, you know all about Angler Quest boats. The center console design, binary wall system, and smooth ride with lots of room have anglers convinced a pontoon can be a great fishing rig. And the folks at Michigan-based Angler Quest continue to make their boats even better. Now the signature rocket launcher Arch can tilt down. That's great for high water levels, trailering, and storage. Also, there's a new panfish model that's perfect for smaller inland lakes. The popular Pro Troll models continue to dominate big water for walleye, salmon, and trout, and the family fish can keep everyone happy whether fishing or cruising. All Angler Quest boats are designed by fishermen and made in Michigan by skilled craftsmen using the latest technology. You can learn more online at anglerquestpontoons.com. That's anglerquestpontoons.com. With more models, upgraded designs, plenty of features, and bigger outboards, this is the perfect year for you to join the Angler Quest family.
You'll do better at Garber.
At Garber Chevrolet in Midland, Saginaw, Linwood, Caro, and now Chesaning. We're better for a reason. Like Garber's low price guarantee. Get incredible everyday low prices on a new Chevy Equinox, Silverado, Traverse, or Trax. Think you found a better deal somewhere else? Bring it to us, and we will beat it. Getting more options and choices is always better. And Garber's combined inventory is the Great Lakes Bay region's largest selection of new Chevrolets. Browse online at GarberChevrolet.com. Then use our Buy From Home feature to purchase entirely online. And Garber Chevrolet's customer service is in a class of its own. We always put your needs first. Better prices, better selection. There's a reason why you'll do better at Garber Chevrolet in Midland, Saginaw, Linwood, Caro, and now Chesaning. Home with a low price guarantee. Online at GarberChevrolet.com. Chevy, find new roads.
You'll do better at Garber.
Everybody needs to put gas in their tank, so the next time, why not save money with fuel rewards from Forward Shell convenience stores? With fuel rewards, you'll save at least 5 cents a gallon on every fill-up at the 26 Forward Shell convenience stores. Plus, you can earn additional savings with select products and special offers at those Forward stores. You can save 20, 30, even 40 cents a gallon. And the more you use fuel rewards, the more you can save. I use the Fuel Rewards program every time I stop by a Forward Shell convenience store. And you can too. Go to fuelrewards.com. That's fuelrewards.com. You can also download the Fuel Rewards app on your phone. The Fuel Rewards program at your local Forward Shell convenience store. A great way to save money every time you fill up. To learn more, check out forwardconvenience.com. That's forwardconvenience.com. 20 feet in the air is no time to be second-guessing your choice in tree stands. But with the new Primal line of stands, you'll never have to worry about comfort or noise. Primal's new Jaw and Truss ladder system gives you an extra firm and quiet attachment, even on irregular trees. The Primal Grip Jaw system features a strong set of jaws so you can securely clamp around the tree. The Backbone Stabilizer Truss lets you connect to almost any healthy tree and eliminates annoying squeaks. With single ladder stands from 16 to 22 feet and double stands up to 18 feet, new Primal tree stands have a model for every hunter. To learn more, check out the website primaltreestands.com. That's primaltreestands.com. Stalk your prey the primal way with Primal Tree Stands. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, AM and FM. That's 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Supertalk 1570 WWCK. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette on WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by the Hunter Safety System. No reason to go up a tree these days without a full body harness on. It's naive, it's selfish, and it's just plain dumb. There are two types of tree stand hunters, those who have fallen and those who will. But if you're wearing a full body harness and you use something like a lifeline where you clip onto the lifeline while you're still on the ground, you slide the connection up the tree, you stayed hooked into it while you're in the tree and hunting, and you slide it back down at the end of the night or the end of the morning hunt, you can't fall. It makes it so much. Well, you can fall, but your lifeline's going to catch you, and you're not going to hit the ground. Yeah, it's not the fall that hurts you, right? It's when you hit the ground. Well, you're not going to hit the ground if you're wearing some kind of a full body harness and the use of a lifeline. I like Hunter Safety System products. They're Michigan guys. They're kind of the innovators of the product category. I've worked with them very closely for many years, and they're friends of mine. So I like Hunter Safety System products. If for some reason you don't, please wear somebody's full body harness. Check out the lineup, though, of Hunter Safety System products on the website, huntersafetysystem.com. That's huntersafetysystem.com. By the way, Hunter Safety System lifeline or vest or harness would make a great Christmas present, and it's coming up just around the corner. huntersafetysystem.com. Right now we're talking with Ed Beckley of M65 Bait Shop. We catch Ed in the UP at Deer Camp. But Ed, I want to talk a little bit about white fishing. Traditionally, I have heard that November 15th is kind of the unofficial kickoff of the fall whitefish season. Is that the case?
It normally is. I'll tell you, Mike, there's a lot of guys, instead of deer hunting, are standing out there on that dock in Tawas catching whitefish, but they've been doing really well the last couple of weeks down there.
Even with that warm weather?
Even with that warm weather, they were doing well. I mean, I walked the dock one morning, and I bet I seen 20, 25 fish.
I don't have any experience with whitefish at all. I mean, how would you characterize them? Are they a good fighting fish? Are they a good eating fish? What's the appeal?
I think it's more the eating side of it. I mean, they fight fairly well, but I think a lot of people like to eat whitefish.
Well,
I mean, it's one of the main, one of the main commercial fisheries out there too.
When you say it doesn't fight well, but it eats good, I'm thinking it kind of like walleye.
Yeah, well, they do fight well, but not like, not like hooking into a salmon or a steelhead or something like that.
So you mentioned the docks in Tawas, but it's my understanding, too, that this is a fishery, a fall fishery that's all across the Great Lakes. Jetties, pierheads, anytime you can get out into the lake a little bit, this time of year you got a good chance of catching some whitefish.
Yep, I was even watching a YouTube video the other day of some guys downstate, not exactly sure where it was, and they were catching a little different than I've ever really fished for, but I do see more and more people doing it their way now than traditionally seeing.
Well, and what are these ways? How do we catch whitefish?
Well, I'm more of a slip bobber or just jigging them with like a bigger teardrop with a waxworm on it. But I'm seeing guys now starting to go, more people with Swedish pimples, half, 3/4 ounce. But the only thing I see about that is it seems like there's more fish that get snagged that way than the guys that are catching them with the waxworms and minnows.
The waxworm, it makes me think almost of like an ice fishing technique. But when you throw the slip bobber in there, of course, that changes things.
Right. And it pretty much is. I mean, you get it down there right to the bottom and jig it.
What are these? Why are we seeing whitefish now? Are they a fall spawning fish?
I think they are more of a fall spawning fish. I've really never paid that much attention to them on that aspect of it.
But they're coming in what? They're coming in to feed.
I know around the docks it's just full of minnows this time of year. So they're feeding on the minnows, and they're, feeding on whatever's floating in the water. And like I said, I've never really paid attention to when they spawn.
Doesn't really matter, right? They're in there now to catch them, so that's all that matters.
Right.
So, is it a low light fishery? Is it first thing in the morning and late in the evening, or can you catch them right on through the day?
Most of them are caught right at first light and just before dark and into the dark, and after dark. There is some that get caught during the day. It's it's like anything. There's always that one or two here and there that's got to be different.
So it's also a night fishery. Folks concentrate on them after dark.
Yes, they do. I mean, you'll see people lined up on that dock in Tawas. I've seen people out there at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Does the weather play a role? Do you like some waves crashing in to stir things up, to rile things up?
It seems like the nastier it is, the better it is if you can handle it out there. I don't think I myself don't prefer to sit there and get sprayed with water continuously when it's 30 degrees outside, but I see guys out there doing it.
Yeah, that's pretty hardcore when you can stand out on a pier or a dock in mid-November, getting wet, and enjoy it.
Yeah, and if I'm not enjoying something, I'm really not going to do it that much.
That's because you're older and wiser now, my friend. So how long into the year? I mean, the mid-November is kind of the unofficial kickoff of the best fishing in the fall. But is it like a 2-week run? Does it go right until ice up? What do you see?
I see it's about 3 weeks to a month every year seems like to be about the best time. But then, I catch a lot of them when I'm out fishing for walleyes through the ice.
Really?
Yep, I go up and down in Augrey off of like Booth Road down there and get out there in 10, 12 foot of water fishing for walleyes, and I'll have whitefish come in.
How do they bite? Is it an aggressive hit or is it like a perch?
It's more like a heavy weight when you're jigging them. And then you'll catch them on the bobber. The bobber will just kind of just go down slow. And of course, you get the aggressive one here and there. But
I've heard they have a real.
Time I feel more of a weight.
I've heard they have a real soft mouth.
Yes, they do, and that's a big mistake people make is they try to pull them up the edge of the dock and they don't take a net or something, and you try doing that, you're all done.
Well, that's a good question.
Line.
How do you net a fish when you're standing 10 feet above the water level?
Well, look how long our nets are in our boats, Mike. We can make them long.
Yeah. So if somebody was going to head out on the pier, on the dock or something right now, what would you suggest? How do we get rigged up, and what kind of a bait do we use?
If it was me right now sending somebody out that stopped into my shop and had never fished before, I'd hand them a couple dozen waxworms, a larger teardrop, a long fishing rod, and a long-handled net, and tell them to just jig it right straight off as far as they could reach with that rod. Or if they wanted to use a bobber, I'd show them how to set up a slip bobber.
There's oftentimes when I think of pier fishing, I think of a live bait presentation like you're talking about, but then I also think about, in addition to that, throwing some kind of a spoon or a spinner
Oh, and see, the other day I had a couple guys come in and buy a bunch of beetle spins, and they were going out white fishing.
Really?
I've never done it that way.
Well, that's what I wondered, if it was even an option.
Yeah, they said it was productive for them, but I personally have never done it that way. You know, so, and I mean, they come in and they bought like 8 or 10 beetle spins a piece.
Well, whatever works, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like walleye fishing. Whatever bait you are confident in,
yes,
you'll catch fish with it.
Yes, because you'll run it more because you have confidence, and because you're running it more, you'll catch more fish, which will give you more confidence, and yada, yada, yada.
Right.
Speaking of walleye, how was your season out there on Saginaw Bay?
Oh, it was phenomenal. I mean, I don't think I've ever sold so many night crawlers.
My favorite bait.
Not mine, but
me neither.
I'm a bandit guy, flicker minnow, flicker shad. You know, I'm not much of a crawler guy. Now my fishing this year wasn't the greatest because I wrecked my boat this spring.
Oh, what happened?
Well, I hit a log at about 40.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So.
Was it right after the floods? Was it a bunch of stuff?
It was just before. It was just before the boat ban was put on.
Oh boy! Tell me more about this. I mean, how big of a log does it take to do damage like that? Did you ever see it?
I never seen the log. Fact is, I'm really assuming it was a log. I was headed out of the Augrey River to Point Lookout. The boat kind of jumped up in the air and went sideways on me, and I thought, I must have hit a rogue wave. I went over to Point Lookout. I drifted down about, probably about a mile drift, 3/4 of a mile drift. And I went, I'm sitting pretty darn low in the water.
Oh.
And I turned on my bilge pump, and it ran for about 10 minutes. I said, well, that's crazy. So I motored back up to the top of Point Lookout, out there in front of that big rock house. Set my rods out and went to reach over, and as I hit the bilge pump, the board went back. I started reeling in the fish. I brought the fish in, reset my rod, and looked over and said, the bilge pump is still running. So I reeled everything in and headed in and took my boat over to Inland Marina and said, something's wrong. And, the whole front on the driver's side, whatever you want to call it, side, and was all caved in. And
oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
So did you take out your motor, too, or just the hull?
Just the hull.
Which is bad enough.
Yeah, and then, of course, the insurance company said, well, we'll take it all.
All right, Ed, listen, I got to let you go. Thanks for the info on the whitefish. Good luck in the whitetail woods. I send people to the bait shop and the website, M65baitshop.com. Always a pleasure to talk with you, my friend, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, you have a good one, Mike, and thanks for calling.
Thank you for taking the call since you're up there deer hunting. All right, we'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, we're going to talk about TB in the Michigan whitetail herd. Yes, it is still a thing. We don't hear much about it anymore. And then this week's Ask Avery segment right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Sandusky on WMIC. That's 660 AM. You can hear us in Port Huron on WPHM 1380 AM. And let's see if we can go north of the bridge weekend one more time to Iron Mountain WMIQ 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and your Mid-Michigan Tracker and Angler Quest headquarters. For more info, check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. Fall fishing, ice fishing season, if we have one, and fall waterfowl hunting. And also, if you haven't put the boat away yet, and a lot of you smart anglers have not, or wintertime storage, the folks from Linwood Beach Marina can help you out there as well. linwoodbeachmarina.com. Well, it is the opening weekend of the firearm deer season, a big deal here in the great state of Michigan. And we've heard the last couple of years, a lot about CWD, chronic wasting disease. And there's been a lot of concern, a lot of exposure, a lot of regulations changed because of it. You know what we haven't heard as much about, at least I haven't? TB. TB. It is still around. Emily Sewell is a wildlife health specialist for the DNR, and she joins us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Emily, welcome to the show. How are you?
I am doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. Tell us a little bit about TB. It's still a problem, I'm assuming.
It is. I really thank you for the opportunity to chat about it because you're right. CWD has really, I don't want to say stolen the spotlight, but it's gotten a lot of attention the last couple of years, and bovine tuberculosis continues to be an issue in northeast Michigan. And because it is a zoonotic disease, that means that it affects both humans and animals. And so it's of particular concern because we know that about it. And it really affects our whitetail deer population in northeast Michigan, and it has implications for our agricultural producers that raise cattle. So there are cattle herds that have become infected, usually, at least one or two a year in that area. So there's some pretty serious implications with infections from this disease.
Do you feel like you have TB under control in that northeast part of the lower?
That's a great question. So the things that we do to help control the disease as far as management are allowing antlerless harvest in that area to really help manage that population. It's a density-dependent disease. So the more deer you have in a certain area, the more likely it is for that disease to spread. So by allowing, antlerless harvest in that area, then that helps manage that disease and contain it. Obviously, people are familiar with baiting. That's why we started the baiting ban, was because of bovine tuberculosis. Pardon me. So those types of things have helped manage the disease. We know that it hasn't spread beyond the Deer Management Unit 487 area. Really, Deer Management Unit 452 is that core TB area, the four corners where they come together of Alcona, Alpena, Montmorency, and Oscoda counties. That's where, most of the cases in deer are detected. And then when you expand to DMU 487, which are kind of the 6 counties that surround it, so you add Presqu'île and Iosco to those 4 counties that I just listed, that's where we find about 99% of our bovine tuberculosis and our white-tailed deer.
To keep an eye on it, I would imagine testing is a big deal. A couple of questions here. Funding seems to be a problem this year with COVID and the way it's wreaked havoc with the department and everything else. So is there the funding to do testing, and how do we as hunters get deer tested if we're in those areas? Is it a mandatory test in those areas?
It is not a mandatory test. No, testing is always voluntary. We, thanks to CWD, every time a deer came through our lab over the last several years, it also got screened for TB. So we have great statewide surveillance over the last few years as those CWD samples were rolling in. However, we're really right now trying to reach these quotas that we have for TB testing in the northeast counties. So starting this year, because of the state of Michigan's agreement with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, like I said, there's implications with the agricultural community. So the state of Michigan has an agreement with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and that really outlines how many deer we test and where to detect the disease and with the change in prevalence or occurrence of the disease. So those core counties where we usually find TB, we still want samples from those areas, but it's kind of the buffer counties. So Presqu'île, Sheboygan, Otsego, Crawford, Roscommon, Ogama, Iosco, those counties surrounding that core area, we have new quotas for. So we need to, in accordance with this memorandum of understanding, need to get 300 deer sampled from each one of those counties, with the exception of Presque-Isle. We need 500 from Presque-Isle. And so that is from our hunters.
I'm running out of time. Real quick, how do we get them tested?
Sure. Check stations are open for firearm season. If you're familiar with the check stations in the northern lower, the ones that have traditionally been open, they still are. You can go to michigan.gov/deercheck to get the up-to-date locations for those check stations and their hours. And we've also added those 24-hour self-service drop boxes for hunters to use with their smartphones, as well as a no-contact option, and that's more convenient.
Wonderful. Emily Sewell of the DNR Wildlife Health Specialist. Check out michigan.gov/deercheck. Take a break. The Ask Avery segment coming up. Security Credit Union wants to thank you for helping to make them one of Michigan's fastest growing credit unions. Check out Security's Debit Rewards program, where you can earn points just by using your debit or Titanium Rewards credit card. Redeem those points for great gifts and merchandise. Or how about the Save to Win account? That's a Security Credit Union account that gives you all the benefits of a traditional savings account, plus the chance to win big. Every $25 you deposit into this share certificate earns you an entry into the monthly and quarterly drawings. The more you save, the more chances to earn. Up to 10 entries per month. You'll build up your savings, earn interest and dividends, and have a chance at multiple prizes. And remember, Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. Federally insured by the NCUA. Have you tried the Mike Avery Hunter Sticks from Michigan Brand Meats? They feature two of my favorites, elk and pepper, and I think they taste great. I've been working with the Grillo family of Michigan Brand for a few years now, and I couldn't be happier. Michigan Brand is family owned and based right here in Michigan, and they make lots of great products. From jerky, sausage, and those hunter sticks to their famous Michigan Brand hams, you can't go wrong with Michigan Brand meats. Plus, Michigan Brand can process your boned-out wild game, too. Check out the website, michiganbrand.net, for more info. That's michiganbrand.net. You can buy the Mike Avery Hunter Sticks on that website. Plus, you can get them at Jay's Sporting Goods, all Forward convenience stores, Jack's Fruit Markets, and many other great stores, too. There's a complete list on the website. Again, that's michiganbrand.net for the Mike Avery Hunter Sticks, the outstanding Michigan Brand hams, and lots more. michiganbrand.net.
It's a complicated world we live in. Right about now, I'll bet your head is spinning like a tornado with news and opinions and conflicting do this and don't do that recommendations. Some days, you just want to throw up your hands, go to the woods, and stay there. And you know, that's not a bad idea. Jay's Sporting Goods encourages you to get back to your roots. Do some simple, traditional things for a while. In Michigan's great outdoors, space is one thing we have plenty of. So put as much social distance as you like between you and everyone else, including all your social media pals who somehow just recently became experts on every topic. And one more thing. Before you head out, head into Jay's Sporting Goods. Because even though there are shortages of a lot of things these days, Jay's has just what you need to make the most of your escape to our beautiful wide open spaces. It's the gateway to social distancing the way God intended. Jay's Sporting Goods, Clare and Gaylord.
Hey, you like to hunt for different game in changing conditions, but it can be expensive to buy hunting clothes in every pattern. Well, now there's a way to change your camo without breaking the bank. With VersaSkins, you can buy one set of hunting clothes and change the pattern to suit your surroundings. You can switch from whitetail to waterfall, blaze orange, and snow camo by just snapping on a new skin. Plus, VersaSkins keep you warm, dry, and protect you from the elements. To learn more, check out the website versaskins.com. VersaSkins, just change the skin for the season you're in.
When you buy a Michigan hunting or fishing license, you're helping to fund conservation efforts across the state. The majority of funding for taking care of Michigan's fish and wildlife comes from you, hunters and anglers, not state taxes. So on behalf of the Michigan Wildlife Council, we'd like to thank you for your part in ensuring that Michigan's hunting and fishing heritage will be here for generations. Learn how the Michigan Wildlife Council promotes the role of hunting and fishing at hereformioutdoors.org.
You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Muskegon on WKBZ. That's 1090 AM. You can hear us in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. And you can hear us in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you by Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. A reminder, the way the Ask Avery segment works is this is your chance to have some direct input into the show. You can send a question to me. Email address is mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, or you can hit me up on any of the social media platforms. It can be a question directly to me, or it can be a question that you would like me to ask to somebody else. And this time around, if I have time for it, it's a twofer. Two questions on the Ask Avery segment. The first one from John Lott. He says, hey, Mike, I don't know if this topic has been brought up or if you know the answer, but I'm confused on the drop shot laws in Michigan. He says, I fish the Detroit River, and I drop shot for smallmouths and don't want to be illegally fishing for them. He said some references seem to indicate the DNR says it's illegal in rivers as they consider it snagging. He said it's very confusing. I looked at the laws, too, and I can see why John is a little bit confused. So, since I am not a lawyer, and since I'm not on the Natural Resources Commission, and since I'm not the DNR's director, and since I'm not a conservation officer, I went to the authorities. This time around, I talked with Lieutenant Jason Wickland, who I've had on the show before. The answer to this, John, is that drop shotting was allowed in drowned river mouths as of October 15th, 2018. Now, think of what a drowned river mouth is. It's Manistee Lake. It's Muskegon Lake. It's something like that, where a river comes into the Great Lakes, but before it flows into the lake, there's a drowned river mouth that creates a lake. So drop shotting was allowed in drowned river mouths as of October 15th, 2018. The hook size, though, is restricted to a single hook point measuring a ½ inch or less of a gap distance between the point and the shank. Now, remember, John's asking about the Detroit River. So my question back to the lieutenant is, what about the Detroit River? That's not a drowned river mouth. Lieutenant Wickland says, according to the Fish Division, it is an extension of a drowned river mouth and therefore legal to use drop shotting there. He said it's actually quite a point of a conversation between the Fisheries Division and the Law Enforcement Division. So, John Lott, your question to the Ask Avery segment, yes, indeed, you can use drop shotting for smallmouths in the Detroit River and you would be legal. There we go. I told you it's a twofer. This week, Ben Rude, Ben, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, Roude. His question is, and these are both to me via email, he says, last week on Michigan Out of Doors, they found a 12-point buck dead in the river. They said they would contact the neighbors to try to locate who had shot it. If unsuccessful legally, could they cut the horns off and keep the buck? The same question, according to Ben, is asking, it would apply to any deer or elk or anything that you find dead anywhere in Michigan. Can you cut the head off and keep the rack? There's the crux of the question. And actually, Ben, I think an excellent question. State law says that you shall not take, transport, or possess parts of any game animal without a permit. Okay? You can't have an animal or a part of an animal without a tag or a permit. In the situation above, the person would need to call to get a salvage permit or go online to fill out the salvage permit form. This is the old car kill permit. And those tags are then tracked, and COs can verify and keep track of these things. So my question is, okay, so you can't tag a deer if you didn't kill it. For example, if you walk up on a dead deer and you didn't shoot it, legally, you can't tag it because you didn't shoot it. And remember, you have to have a permit or you have to have a tag on a deer. DNR says they get a lot of trophy bucks killed by vehicles or found after the fact, and they want to make sure those animals are accounted for, and there's a legal process of transferring that animal from the state to the individual. Because remember, until the animal is tagged, it doesn't belong to the individual or the hunter. It belongs to the state. So then my final question was, following up on this, okay, salvage permits can now be written by any law enforcement officer, right? They used to only come from DNR conservation officers. Yes. In fact, there's an online form now. So say you hit a deer, or you find a deer and you want to take the rack. You can have any law enforcement officer can issue the salvage permit, or you can even go online, michigan.gov/DNR, and fill out the tag online. There are some of the old paper permits still out there, but the DNR doesn't even issue those anymore. So, Ben, to answer your question, can you cut the head off and keep the rack? No, not unless you get a salvage permit from the DNR, but those salvage permits are easy to get. But you've got to get one. You've got to get one. So, thank you to John Lott for this week's question to the Ask Avery segment, and thank you to Ben Rude for this week's questions to the Ask Avery segment. And a special thank you to our friends at Security Credit Union for helping to make each week's Ask Avery segment possible. Again, reach out to me, Mike, at MikeAveryOutdoors.com with your question. Hit me up on any of the social media outlets, and I would be happy to include you in each week's Ask Avery segment. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, we're going to talk a little deer hunting, a little deer management, probably a little bear hunting, a little deer genetics. I have a question for that about is a 6-point always a 6-point with Richard P. Smith, and wild game chef Dave Miner returns to the show in hour number 3.